Good morning, this is Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. I had a little bit of time this morning, so I thought I'd come out in the dove blind and I'd bring you guys along with me. It's been a slow year on doves so far, but we did decent first day out. I had a couple youth in the blind with us hunting. You know, they did pretty good. Showed excellent gun safety. I was proud of both of them. It's also squirrel season right now. I've got a line of hickory trees behind me, and up the side I usually see a couple squirrels out of here every season without even trying. I have 2 days left of early goose. There's a wetlands area beside me. Normally the geese are on there, and they're slow risers in the morning, so they wait until the sun's up full before they fly. But they're usually honking on the water. I'm not hearing them today. That doesn't mean there's not a few stragglers over there, but there's definitely not a big flock. Actually, I do hear at least a single, if not a few geese on the water over there. We're going to switch locations. I've got a goose blind set up along the wood line. It's a pretty good flight path for them. Where I'm set up right now is primarily my dove location. I've got some decoys spread out in front of me. I'll show you all that setup later. I'm not even going to attempt to try to get myself shooting doves on film. By the time you see one, I'm lucky if I can shoulder my gun and get the safety off. If I set the camera at a certain angle where I anticipate the doves are going to fly, that's the best way to guarantee that no dove will come from that direction for the rest of the day. So I'm set up in my goose blind now. This is the first time I'm in this blind this season, and I had a tree fall right through it. So not a big deal. It just adds more cover long term. It gives me a place to lean my shotgun up against. Short term, it just knocks some of the brush down here right in front of me. We had a big windstorm blow through last Saturday, so it's been about 4 days ago. So it kind of changes the terrain out here whenever you get a heavy weather. This is a combo season right now. It's early goose and dove and squirrel also, actually, but my primary targets right now, I'm sitting in the goose blind. I've got dove decoys out maybe 80 yards away across the field. If I see the doves start flying, I might switch gears, but I'm primarily set up for doves right now. However, I still have a dove loads in the shotgun. I've got my double B steel on standby, and I've got number 8s in both barrels of the over and under. Geese are not shy about letting you know they're coming. You can usually hear them honking. I thought I heard a honk or two on the swamp area behind me. That's why I switched locations. As they start getting hunted heavier, they usually will quiet down a little bit, but geese can't help themselves but make noise. Doves, however, just fly on you fast and hard, so you better be ready for a dove right now or you'll never get a shot at it. Alright, I do hear geese. I'm going to switch loads. Running 3.5-inch double B steel on the geese if they do fly by. It hurts on both ends. I'm going to spin the camera around and show you the sunrise. Unfortunately for me, I'm facing due east. This is my preferred blind in the evening, but on the morning sets, I'm going to be staring hard into the sun here real soon. It's worth it. If the geese do fly, they generally fly from behind me over my right shoulder. Maybe 5 o'clock, fairly low. In the evenings, they'll be coming from, about 11 o'clock right at me. So it's a pretty good setup if I can catch them right. It's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. So far, the dove goose hunt has went perfectly as planned. As I had the camera off, I had a squirrel come in behind me. I shot him. He's laying behind me here. As soon as I shot, I'm probably 70 yards from a pretty good sized wetland area behind me, and I could hear birds taking off instantly. So I switched back to dove loads anyway because the geese had quit honking. I wasn't sure if they took off. After I shot the squirrel, I heard flapping next door here. I switched over, put my big loads in, and it was a herring actually. But I was ready for it regardless. I didn't hear any more geese coming up off the water there, just that one bird. I could tell it wasn't a goose. So I swapped loads again. As a general rule, I keep my number 8s in here when I'm bird hunting like this. This is close range, 8s on a squirrel. That squirrel didn't seem to notice that I didn't shoot it with a 6. Okay, the squirrel was immediately behind me climbing along these trees. They really don't seem to notice if you're sitting still. Really not a big concern for him. He was in this tree, fell down the backside. There's a little guy. Let me go over my gear real quick. The shotgun I'm using, this is my preferred shotgun if I have a choice of what I'm going to use. This is a 3.5-inch Browning Satori, 28-inch barrels, and Vector Plus choke. So the shotgun's backboard reduces recoil. This one's chambered in 3.5-inch Magnum, so I can shoot 2 3/4 dove loads like I'm doing. As light of target loads as I can put in the tube. I could do 3s and then 3.5s when I get into the longer range stuff. Not always needed, but it's good to have an option. I like the over and under. Single shots are great. If I'm doing a lot of walking squirrel hunting and I don't like the weight of the double barrel, I will carry a single shot from time to time. But for me, if I'm carrying an over and under, I'm going to eat twice as much as if I had a single shot. I mean, maybe I'm not the greatest shot in the world, but the second shot lets you do an instant adjust to your lead on flying game. Usually as soon as you shoot, you realize I'm a little behind, I'm a little in front of. It lets you do a calculated move. Also, the Brownings have a selector on the back. This is a single trigger. Some of the side-by-sides and a few of the over-and-unders have 2 triggers. That's probably truly a better idea, because then you have basically 2 single-shot guns stuck together, either horizontally or vertically. But I've always liked the single trigger. I've got years experience with them. I've never had a problem with them. But it lets me use 2 different chokes for 2 different situations, or 2 different loads for 2 different types of game, and I can select back and forth whatever I need. if I was in a situation where I don't get to hear geese coming as quick, say they were up on me faster, I could keep my top barrel dedicated with a goose load, and then essentially I'm shooting a single shot dove gun on the bottom and a single shot goose load on the top. So then I can hunt doves all day, shoot a box of shells through my bottom barrel with that top barrel just being in reserve in case a goose or something flies. That comes in real handy if you're duck hunting, where you're constantly have ducks, but every once in a while there's an intermittent goose flying by. Okay, I'm starting to get some doves in the air now. Also, I can stagger the chokes. I'm using Briley chokes today. I have light modified in the bottom barrel, modified in the top barrel. I've definitely over-choked for that squirrel, but I'm set up for my longest dove shot that I can conceivably take today. Now, I don't have a hunting dog with me, so if I shoot a more open choke, I have a better chance of hitting a flying dove, but I also have a better chance of wounding a dove. And then I have to go out and stomp around through the grass to try to find it. When I choke up and use like a light modified, improved modified, anything in that realm, when I hit the bird, I usually puff it and it drops right, approximately right where it was headed. Makes it easier for me to locate it. So with the staggered ability to stagger my chokes and then select which one I shoot, I can use I could use an improved cylinder or a cylinder bore if I was rabbit hunting. Say I was doing a rabbit pheasant combo hunt, and then I could run a modified on the top barrel or an improved modified, definitely a tighter choke. So if I'm kicking up brush, I have my selector flipped over for the bottom barrel. That's going to be my first shot. Theoretically, is going to be at a close rabbit. If a pheasant flushes out further out, I have the ability to slide my selector over to the upper barrel, and then that gives me a further shot. Okay, we got a flock of birds in the air here. This little wood line I'm in, a lot of times I can see them out in the open field, and they'll circle around behind me. They also like to roost in dead trees. I've got a couple dead trees right behind me also, so I got to keep my eyes open, make sure there's not one sitting up there. Generally, on an over and under, you're going to shoot your bottom barrel first. Bottom barrel has a lower center of gravity, and it's going to come right back into your shoulder. The upper barrel has a leverage advantage on your shoulder, so it actually kicks higher. So when I shoot the bottom barrel, it's actually way below my sight line, coming straight back into my shoulder. Upper barrel, I can see a little bit of a rise on it. I can shoot it any way I want to, but that's generally how you're supposed to do it. If I'm shooting game like pheasant, for example, where we're driving them, then I'll have it set up like I do now, with a tighter choke on the top for my second further shot. Or say I missed on the first shot, the bird's going to be 10 yards farther by the time I get the second barrel into action. So more open choke on the bottom, tighter choke on top. Situation like this where the doves are flying into you, or if I've got ducks decoying where they're flying into me, my first shot's, technically, if I do it right, my first shot will be at a further out bird, and the flock will carry in, and my second shot will be 5 yards closer, 5, 7, 10 yards closer. None of this matters. You can come out here with a modified choke and kill all the stuff you want to, but it gives me something to think about. Lets me play around with it a little bit more. I also like the fact with an over and under, it's a manually fed gun. Anything that I can poke in the chamber is going to come out the front. So I can use any of the chamber adapters that I've got for my single shot if I'm out here just playing around. I can shoot ultra-light target loads that wouldn't cycle in a semi-automatic. Another reason I like an over and under is I'm a reloader. So my shells don't get ejected any which way that the gun wants to throw them. I can't eject them if I'm in a hurry. If I open my gun up after firing, the shells goes flying out the back of my barrel. I've shot an over and under for years in sporting clays, and I'm just so used to catching my shells. So whenever I open my gun, I'll catch my empties, put them in my pocket, put them in my shooting bag, whatever. The shells I'm using today they're like a junk paper-based shell, so that's not something I would want to reload. But what I don't want to do with those shells is leave them all over the place. So it definitely keeps the woods cleaner if you keep your shells from being field litter. Take them home with you. You can do that with any gun, semi-auto, pump, it doesn't matter, but it's a lot more likely to happen if it's right there in your hand. If you're chucking shotgun hulls into the brush, very few people are going to try to hunt them down and get them. So with this gun, just by changing the load and changing my choke tubes, I've shot sporting clays, trap, skeet. I've shot geese, ducks, doves, squirrels, rabbits, pheasant, anything that I normally hunt, with the exception of turkey. I haven't taken this gun turkey hunting. But it's just a very versatile shotgun. They're pricey, but your grandkids won't remember what you paid for it when this gun gets handed down to them. I'm about out of coffee, so the hunt is done for the morning. I saw a small flock of doves flying in the air. They were way out there. I've got decoys set up, no interest whatsoever. I do have a cornfield behind me. It's out directly in front of me. When I have corn, a lot of times the doves will roost into the corn itself. And I see them flying, but they don't really head my way. That's not the case this year. Could be a weather thing. Weather will push the doves in and out of an area pretty quick. I did hear geese on the water. Decided to make my move. Didn't pan out. I heard geese several times in the distance. Didn't see a flock in the air. Did not see one flock. That's okay though. A squirrel kind of snuck up behind me and he got harvested. So a very successful hunt. Happy with it. Got to sit out here and watch the sunrise, drink some coffee. Beats the hell out of being at work right now. This is Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. See you next time. Here's a quick shot of my decoy spread. You see I used the tripods again. You'll see these a lot out here. But I'm hunting an open field and I'm along the tree line. So I'm trying to get my decoys up where they're going to be visible from a long distance.